Hi guys, so today what I wanted to discuss with you was the 3 biggest mistakes a new business owner can go through. Number 1, and what is the biggest problem a new business faces when it's starting? Cash flow problem, right? You started a business with whatever savings you had, whatever you can borrow from mom and dad, and before you know it, you're running out of money to finance your jobs, whatever this may be. This can cover any type of business. Right? So when I first started, there was not a lot of insurance. There were not a lot of rules and regulations that you needed to adhere to in order to be in business. All right? So I didn't have an initial high cost. Nowadays, when you start a company, the insurance companies want all the money up front because they don't trust you. Right? Years ago, they gave you payment plans, and payment plans were generally free. Just to give you a quick background on me, when I started as a teenager, this guy, Danger Zone behind me, was given to me by my father. He was in complete disrepair. I emptied out my savings account to fix him and get him going and get my small landscaping company going. I primarily did new installations for people, and the great thing about new installations was I was able to execute jobs with other people's money. Basically, that means is I would buy material for a job, people would pay me for it. Rather than doing you need a lot of money up front. So the first thing a person will do is reach for a loan, and nothing can be further from the truth. You never want to take out a business loan from a bank. And the reason is that the bank doesn't do anything for you. All they do is come in every month and take the money right out of your account. What good is that? You're doing 100% of the work and getting 50% of the money. That's not a system that works. So if you don't have enough money to kickstart your company from the beginning, I know I hate to say this, but grab a partner. At least a partner can do a second job for you. Maybe they work in the office. Just if they do any kind of contribution of work. Look at Shark Tank. Hundreds and hundreds of people go on Shark Tank hoping to get money from the sharks, and what do they get? They give up equity in their business, but they get the sharks who work for them. Now maybe the sharks themselves don't do the work, their employees do, but you get my point. They're working partners. You give up equity in your business to get a working partner to get more capital into the business. And don't feel that you have to give 50% to this said person. You can give any percent of your company away, even if you just need a little bit of money. So very important to understand that working partnerships are better than blind investors. You don't really need a money man who's breathing down your neck, who doesn't understand your business and how things have to work. You're not going to be able to pull profit out of a business instantaneously either. You're going to have very high upstart costs, and money's going to be flying out the door for the first few months, if not the first year or two, before you start seeing a real big profit in your business. It doesn't mean that you give up. It means that you keep pushing forward and driving towards your goals. Now, the second thing I want to cover is another cash flow problem, right? The second thing is something my friend did. He opened up a business and he thought he was going to be an instantaneous millionaire. He's a really smart guy. He's more of a brother to me than a friend. And he made the biggest mistake of all. He didn't go after the work that he should have gone after. And what do I mean by that? He went after the big, high-paying jobs with low profit return. Okay? So he took on a job, let's say for $500,000, and he only made, I'm just using rough numbers here, and he only made $50,000 on that $500,000 job. Now, first of all, that is not the way to make money, but that's not what he intended to do. He went after big Manhattan work rather than staying local and doing local jobs, okay? Rather than working for builders like I do, he decided that working for builders was too cheap. He said the price per square foot to do brickwork or stonework on a house was just too low, but he misread the value in that work. Right now, I work for builders, and now while I make less than people in Manhattan or maybe people who work for private homes, but their cost per customer acquired is way higher than mine. They have to advertise, they have to run around, do 30, 40, 50 estimates a week, maybe get 5 jobs, while I have to do 0 running around. You get your name out there, you work for a few builders, Builders talk to other builders. Word of mouth is your best advertising. Okay, for us in Staten Island, builders do not look at Google. Okay, so that's a waste of time. For other guys, yes, they make more money, granted, but they spend more in their customer acquisition fee. That's the word I was looking for. Okay, so my friend's customer acquisition fee was to the moon to try to get into Manhattan, and in order to get into Manhattan, he had to work cheap for Manhattan. Okay, so he was expensive for Staten Island, but cheap for Manhattan, and the beating he put on his vehicles to go back and forth every single day, his good crew left him because they didn't want to travel and work 12, 13, 14, 15 hours a day, and that includes their commuting time. Okay, you have to include your commuting time. That's working time. Anytime you're not at home and you're working, you need to be getting paid for your time. So big, long, hard commutes don't pay in the end. Now, he was doing more money, he was swimming more money into his business account, but he wasn't making the profit that I make. And eventually he did have to close up his business. And that is a very big problem. People, they see big numbers on paper, but you have to look for the profit at the end of the job. And if you're not making the profit, then what's the point of all these big high numbers? Okay, and the third thing is big ego. Now, what do I mean by having a big ego? Well, a lot of guys look at big established businesses and say, well, I need that. So they buy the brand new truck, they buy a brand new machine, and they overextend themselves. And they put themselves into a tremendous amount of debt for absolutely no reason. I started with this machine behind me. He was not the flashiest machine. He was almost 10 years old at the time. And a lot of guys were running around with newer stuff. You can't be a keeping up with the Joneses contractor. You have to work within the parameters of what you have. And this goes for whether you're a new business owner or an old business owner. I see all these guys driving around in brand new trucks, DEF fluid and all their nonsense, paying big, high, sky-high interest rates for the loans that they get, and I'm driving around in a 13-year-old F450 that's paid for in full. I don't have to worry about it. I send it to my mechanic. He fixes it when it has to be. You don't have to be the flashiest guy in the pan. I have G-Series, I have K-Series loaders, I have a G-Series excavator. I didn't jump into the hype of the M's. I don't need it. If my machine can still run and work and be productive, I don't trade it. There's no reason to keep up with the Jones and get a new machine just because. Guys, let's do it. This video helped you out. If you have any questions, comments, like or dislike, please feel free to ask. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.